I managed a coffee shop in Amsterdam for 3 years. The most memorable customer was an American who'd just moved for work. She ordered an espresso at 7 p.m., pulled out her laptop and started typing furiously. Around 9 p.m., I mentioned we'd be closing in 30 minutes. She looked confused. Closing? It's only 9. I explained our hours. She asked what coffee shop stayed open late for people working. I told her none really did. She stared at me like I'd said we didn't believe in electricity. But how do people get work done? I gestured at the empty shop. They don't. They go home. She genuinely looked horrified. What if there's a deadline? I shrugged. Tomorrow exists. She packed up, muttering about European work ethic. The next morning, she was back at 6:45 a.m., annoyed we didn't open until 8. My coworker handled a guy who asked if we had a working lunch special. We sell coffee and pastries. He meant a discount for people eating at their desks. When she explained we didn't have desks, he asked if we minded him taking a work call. She said fine. He took 17 work calls in 2 hours. Left without tipping? Americans treat coffee shops like satellite offices. Europeans treat them like places to drink coffee. I worked IT support for a German tech company. An American consultant joined our team remotely. First Saturday morning, 9 a.m., he sent a detailed email about a project deadline. 15 minutes later, another email asking if anyone had seen his first email. By noon, he'd sent 6 emails, each more urgent. Monday morning, he scheduled a meeting titled Weekend Communication Protocol. He opened with, "I sent critical updates Saturday, and no one responded for 48 hours. Our team leader, Klaus, explained, Saturday and Sunday are weekend. We don't check email. The American looked genuinely panicked. What if something urgent happens? Klaus replied, it waits until Monday. The consultant argued this would slow everything down. Klaus said our productivity was already higher than the American office. But how? The consultant asked. Klaus smiled. We rest. Then we work better. The American tried compromising. What about Sunday evenings? Just checking once. Klaus's expression didn't change. Sunday is weekend. The consultant looked like someone had told him oxygen was optional. He spent 3 months sending weekend emails. No one answered. Finally stopped. Later admitted he felt naked not working Saturdays. I worked reception at a hotel in Lyon. An American businessman checked in for 2 weeks. He'd been transferred to manage the French office of his company. Day 3, he came down looking stressed. Asked if we had a business center open on Sunday. I said no. He asked what locals did if they needed to work Sunday. I told him they didn't. He laughed, assuming I was joking. When he realized I was serious, he said, but I have reports due. I suggested he work Saturday. He said he was already planning to. What about Sunday? I explained that in France, Sunday is sacred. Most places close. People spend time with family. He looked bothered. That's a cultural thing, right? Not like a law? I mentioned it actually was law in many cases. He asked if there were exceptions for Americans. I said no. He asked if anyone checked. I told him his French employees definitely would. He seemed confused. Why would they care what I do Sunday? I explained they'd care if he expected them to work Sunday. He said he didn't expect that. It's just me. Extra credit. I told him they'd see it as setting a dangerous precedent. He looked exhausted. So I just don't work Sunday? I nodded. Welcome to France. He checked his phone 6 times during our conversation. All work emails he couldn't answer until Monday. I worked at a tech startup in Stockholm. We hired an American product manager. First week, she attended her first fika. For context, fika is our sacred coffee break. Everyone stops working. We sit together. We talk about not work. She brought her laptop, sat in the corner, kept typing. My colleague Astrid asked if she wanted coffee. She said, I'm good, just checking something quick. 20 minutes later, still typing. After fika, Astrid mentioned, we all take breaks together. The American said, oh, I'm not much of a break person. I'll just power through. Astrid explained. Fika wasn't optional. The American laughed. You're required to take breaks? Astrid said yes. The American asked what happened if she didn't. Astrid said people would think she didn't want to be part of the team. The American looked stunned. That's absurd. I'm being productive. Astrid replied. You're being rude? The standoff lasted 2 weeks. Finally, our boss told her directly, participate in Fika or find another job. She couldn't believe it. You'd fire someone for working too hard? He said we'd fire someone who doesn't understand balance creates better work. She started attending Fika, brought her phone, checked it constantly. We're working on it. She once asked if quick Fika was possible. We told her Fika is already quick. She meant 5 minutes. We drink coffee, not shots. I owned a trattoria in Florence. An American couple came in at 12:30 p.m. They ordered quickly, ate quickly, asked for the check immediately after finishing. Total time, 28 minutes. The husband asked if this was normal speed. I asked what he meant. He said in America, lunch took 15 to 20 minutes. This felt slow. Explained that 28 minutes was actually quite fast for us. Lunch usually lasted an hour or more. His wife looked alarmed. An hour. For lunch? I nodded. She asked what people did for a full hour. I said they ate, talked, relaxed. The husband said, but you lose so much productive time. I pointed out that Italians were happy and lived long lives. He countered that Americans had higher GDP. I mentioned we had lower stress. His wife jumped in. We maximize efficiency. Work hard. Retire early. I asked if they enjoyed the meal. They paused. The husband admitted they barely tasted it. I suggested that was the problem. You're so busy optimizing, you forget to live, the wife said. Living happened after retirement. I asked what if they didn't make it to retirement. Both looked uncomfortable. The husband changed subjects, asking for restaurant recommendations. I suggested our place tomorrow. Take 2 hours. See how it feels? They didn't come back. They left a review praising food quality, but noting service was leisurely. They meant it as criticism. I worked HR at an Oslo engineering firm. An American engineer transferred from our Texas office. First month, he consistently stayed until 8 p.m. His Norwegian colleagues left at 4 p.m. He asked me why everyone left early. I explained they worked 7.5-hour days. He said, right, but where's the overtime? I told him there rarely was overtime. He looked confused. How do you meet deadlines? I said we planned projects realistically. He asked what happened during crunch time. I said we didn't really have crunch time. He seemed rattled. What if a client needs something urgent? I explained we set boundaries. Clients respected them. He asked if that hurt business. I showed him our client retention rates, higher than the American office. He couldn't process it. So you just work less and somehow do better. I explained that rested workers made fewer mistakes. He argued Americans worked longer hours because they were dedicated. I suggested maybe they worked longer because of poor planning. He got defensive. We're the most productive country on earth. I pulled up productivity per hour statistics. Norway ranked higher. He stared at the data. Finally said, this doesn't feel right. I asked what didn't feel right. He said, success shouldn't be this easy. Told him it wasn't easy. We just don't confuse effort with effectiveness. He eventually adapted. Took 6 months. Still occasionally texts colleagues at night. They don't respond until morning. I managed an international team at a Tokyo marketing firm. Our New York office sent an account director for 6 months. First team meeting, I mentioned everyone should use their paid leave. The American asked how much leave people typically took. I said most took at least 15 days yearly. She looked relieved. Oh good, I thought it'd be more. I clarified that 15 was conservative. Many took 20 plus. She asked if that included sick days. I said no, sick days were separate. She did mental math, looking increasingly stressed. So people are just gone a month every year? I explained that yes, that was normal. She said, "How do you cover their work?" I told her we planned around leave. She asked what happened during busy periods. I said people still took leave. She looked like I'd suggested we stop using computers. That's insane. What about client expectations? I explained clients also took leave, so they understood. She argued American clients wouldn't accept that. I mentioned we had American clients. They adapted. She spent 10 minutes explaining why this system couldn't work, then asked how long we'd operated this way. I said, decades. She went quiet. Finally asked, "Are you hiring?" She transferred permanently 8 months later. Said she couldn't go back to 10-day vacation years. My favorite story happened at Amsterdam Central Station. I was helping tourists at the information desk. An American asked about trains to Brussels. I gave him options. He asked which was fastest. I showed him. He then asked if there was a work-friendly train. I asked what he meant. He explained he needed Wi-Fi, power outlets, and a table. Ideally a quiet car for calls. I told him most trains had Wi-Fi and power. He asked about the quiet car. I said quiet cars were for silence. No calls allowed. He looked annoyed. So where do people take work calls? I suggested between trains or in the station. He said his call would last 2 hours. I suggested not taking it on the train then. Got frustrated. In America, trains have business class sections for working. I pointed out this train had first class. He asked if you could take calls there. I said technically no. He asked if anyone enforced it. I said other passengers would. Loudly, he couldn't understand why Europe made working so difficult. I suggested maybe we didn't see constant work as the goal. He said, "Then what is the goal?" I replied, "Living, probably." He stared at me, bought a first-class ticket. Later heard him get shushed 3 times on the train. The thing about American work culture is, it's everywhere. It's not just at work. It's coffee shops, trains, vacations, weekends, lunch breaks. It's every moment potentially converted into productivity. Europeans find it baffling. Not because we're lazy. We work hard. Just stop. Maybe that's the real difference. Americans see life as something that happens around work. Europeans see work as something that funds life. Neither is wrong. The only one requires defending constant exhaustion as virtue next time. Talk about American tourists trying to use vacation days like their work projects.